Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Today I'm going to do my crowdfunding update for January 2022 moving into February. So I'll be talking about the games that I backed in January, the games that I started following in January and carrying over into February, and then looking ahead to a few games that are going to be coming later in February that I'm anticipating. So if you're curious to see what I'm curious about, stay tuned. All right, first up, the games that I backed in January, and I'm going to start with not a game, but I did choose to support Dice Tower and have done that for a couple years. They have some nice promos for backing, but they've provided me with so many hours of entertainment and information over the years that I just enjoy backing them and giving that little bit of support that I can contribute. So that's the first one. In terms of the games that I backed, I did choose to back Palaces of Carrara through Gamefound, and this is the second edition, the Deluxe edition. It's a classic Euro by Kramer and Kiesling, and I'm not going to go into very many of these in much detail because there are 30 some games that I want to talk about here, and I don't want the video to get too long. But this being a classic game that I don't have, I thought this would be a really nice opportunity to pick up the deluxe version with several expansions and modules that wouldn't be available from the prior edition. And it looks and sounds much like a game that I think I'll really enjoy based on the videos that I watched. So I did choose to go ahead and back this one. I am also connected with Game Brewer, just personally, not professionally in any way, but just with a membership that way. So it did give me an even discounted price off of that. So I definitely decided to back this one, and I'm excited to see how this game is going to turn out as I receive it, hopefully in 2022 or early 2023. The other one that I backed is Blazon. This is by Chad Elkins, and this is one that it's surprised me when I first saw it. I was attracted by the art, and then as I started watching videos and hearing about the strategies that were involved here, it just sounded like a very unique game. And so I decided just to go in at the lower pledge level. I may end up upgrading to the deluxe when the pledge banner comes out. We'll see. But for now, just going with a lower one. And that is the other game that I backed in January, the only two that I backed this month. And so now let's look at other games that I've been following and am still following. So this one, Call of Kilforth, let's see, I'm going to have to refresh this. I think some of the tabs have been open too long. There we go. Call of Kilforth. This is one that I followed and ended up not backing. I was very curious about it, but I haven't played any of the other Kilforth games, and it just sounded like a type of a game with the Fantasy Quest theme that would be pretty similar to a lot of the other games that I already have on my shelf or that I also have coming from previous Kickstarters I backed. So as beautiful as it is and as interesting as it seems, I ended up deciding not to back this one. Hopefully at some point I will get a chance to play it, but didn't choose to back this one. You can see the art, at least in my opinion, very beautiful. Card-driven fantasy campaign type game. So very interested, but decided not to back. A couple more in that same category. Pierre is another one that I was interested in. You can click here. I'll put all the links down below if you want to be notified for late pledge when that becomes available. We'll refresh this here. And I did follow this one. It sounded like an interesting, worker placement game. It has kind of the view of a viticulture type game, but from the videos I watched, it sounds like it's quite a bit different in the gameplay. But in the end, just decided not to go for this one. I decided instead to go for Blazon, which was a little bit cheaper, and had to kind of pick and choose. I'm really only going to be able to afford maybe one, maybe two in a month at the most, and so ended up having to cut this one from the list. As beautiful as it looks and as interesting as it sounds, this is one that I didn't back, but who knows? Maybe I'll get a chance to play in the future, or when the late pledge is open, if the opportunity arises, I might decide to late pledge later. All right, next up is from Garfield Games, and these are the expansions for Viscounts of the West Kingdom. I've only played Viscounts and Architects, haven't had a chance to play Paladins yet, but I did really like Viscounts. I liked both games, but I liked Viscounts significantly more than Architects, and so I was very interested in these, but in the end, most of the time, these expansions can be picked up at retail for about the same price or sometimes even cheaper if you can get it on a sale. So I decided to wait on these. It's not in my top tier of games. I enjoy it, but I'm not dying to get the expansion, so I'll be happy to just wait until they're available in retail and maybe find a good sale price. But I would like to try these. From everything I've heard, I think it makes the Viscounts game even better than it already is. I'm not the kind of fan of these West Kingdom games that I wanted to go in and get the whole collector's box and all the features. So I enjoy them, but I don't love them. They're not, like I said, in the top tier of my games. I just enjoy having them and playing them. So this is one that I'll probably end up getting the expansions for eventually, but not through the Kickstarter project. All right, the next one that I followed and ended up not backing is Yucatan, and this is a game from Matago that is in that Inish, Kemet, Cyclades group of games. But in the end, as I watched this game, I was very tempted because lots of stretch goals and lots of interesting things. It looks beautiful, but I think just the head-to-head battling in this game isn't really going to suit the kind of gameplay that gets to the table much in our household or with my gaming groups. And so as beautiful as it looks and as intriguing as it sounds, I ended up deciding that this probably would end up being kind of like Kemet has, sitting on the shelf and just rarely getting played. So I didn't back this one, but I would really love to play this. Hopefully someone at one of my game groups eventually will pick this one up and we'll get a chance to try it out because I think it does look incredible. Just didn't want to invest the money to have it probably not get much gameplay off of my personal shelf. So, but yeah, looked really cool. All right. Now on to some of the games that I'm currently following that are still live. So Total War Rome, the board game from PSC Games. This is one that I've heard is a war type of a game, but with more of a traditional board game feel, a little bit less of the historical war game feel. Curious in this one, I've not played any war games, and so I don't know if this is really the kind of game I would like. I would really love a chance to play this game. It looks beautiful, and I always am just drawn in by the games that have maps and figures like this. But I've never played a war game, so I don't know if I would enjoy it. And so I don't think I'm going to be backing this one. I don't think I can justify putting this much money into a game that I have no idea if I would enjoy or not. So I'm going to hopefully find a friend that gets this one in the future or find it at a game store and see if I can have a chance to play it, have someone teach it to me. I would love to try it, but in the end, I doubt if I'll back this. I'm still following it, and there are still 6 days, but there are so many other games that I'm more likely sure that I will like. I doubt if this one's gonna win in that vote, in that competition. All right, next up is Colab, and this one came out a while ago and had to be relaunched. This one also has 6 days to go, but is on Kickstarter. And this one I've more just was curious because it was really hyped a little bit when it first came out, and then it canceled, and that kind of surprised me. And then it kind of has gone under the radar, at least from what I've seen. A few people talking about it, but it's felt like the hype was much stronger the first time around. So let's see if we check up here. Yeah, so they've done quite well. You know, they've more than surpassed their goal by a significant amount. So it looks pretty cool. I don't know, the theme doesn't necessarily draw me in, but I have been watching it because it's got that unique storyline of, you know, came to Kickstarter, seemed like it had a lot of hype, disappeared, and then now coming back. So the imagery of it, the miniatures, the minions and such, isn't really kind of the picture type that draws me in per se, but definitely following it and like to learn a little bit more as I get a chance to watch some more videos. The color schemes are really pretty. Yeah, so Colab is another one that I'm keeping my eye on. Probably a little bit lower in my ranking of the ones I'm choosing from, but definitely watching. Next up is Yokai Septet, and this is the 2nd edition. And this is one that I think I heard from Monique and Naveen on one of their videos when they were talking about some of their favorite games, and I had never heard of it. And as I listened to them talking about this trick-taking game, I thought, well, that sounds pretty interesting. It's also a little bit lower on my list just because it's primarily a 3 and 4 player game, and we play mostly 2 players. So not sure if it will be one that I'll be able to pick up. And trick taking, while it's fun, it's not necessarily one of my favorites. So this one has a unique style to it, a unique twist to it. So definitely keep my eye on it, especially after that recommendation from the folks at Before You Played. So yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on this one, but not sure how high it ranks. Next up is Hike. And this one is really a cute looking game. It sounds really interesting. I saw Love to Hate do a little preview of it, and it sounded a pretty simple game where you're racing and you are trying to choose the dogs that will help you race best, but then you also have to treat the dogs well and take care of them, provide the care that they need so that they can continue to race effectively. It just sounds like a unique game, unique style, a unique theme for sure. And I like the art. I think it looks pretty. Definitely keeping my eye on this one. It's one that's a little bit lower in terms of cost. It's $27 for the Musher pledge, and then if you want all the Kickstarter exclusive, it's 41. So it's definitely for a Kickstarter, definitely on the lower end of things in terms of price. So keep an eye on this one. Yeah, what I saw in the video was interesting, and what I heard, I also watched Rado's video, and it was an interesting take on this game. Yeah, this is the one that I saw that got me most intrigued here when I watched a little bit about their discussion of how the game played. So Hike is one that I'm definitely watching. Next one up is Sauria, and I'm not sure why I'm having to refresh all these. I just opened a bunch of them, but anyway, I guess that's just how this browser works. So this one's got 8 days to go, and this game is one definitely looks like Dinosaur Island, Dinosaur World sort of competition. We just received Dinosaur Island from some friends of ours that passed it on to us and haven't had a chance to play that. So that one pushes this one down just a little bit on my list of priorities because, I have another dinosaur game that I think is going to be somewhat similar in theme at least. I'm not sure about the playability, if that's going to be similar or not. So this one sounds interesting. The art looks nice. But like I said, with Dinosaur Island just having come to our house, this one is a little less of a draw for me, but definitely keeping my eye on it. It's one that I've heard a few people that have talked about that did really like it. And if you look at the pledges over here, you can see it's $69 for the base game, and then the Raptor Pack special if you want 2 copies, and then the bundles here for other combinations. I watched this unboxing here to get an idea about what it looked like. Yeah, it's interesting. It does look like it would be a fun game, but also kind of lower just because, like I said, we just received Dinosaur Island. All right, this one, when I first saw the picture, didn't necessarily catch my attention. This image right here, it looks okay, but the Quatermain deck building, that adventure, Alan Quatermain, that character has always been of interest to me. 9 days to go on this one, and they are struggling to meet their goals. So I doubt if this one's going to come to life. But by Cobblestone Games, I've played a Cobblestone game before, and I enjoyed it, but in the end, we ended up trading it away. It was a good game, but it was a Blankenship, I think, or it's been a long time since I played a couple of years ago, and it was a good game. But so I'm curious to see more about this one, but it does look like this one probably won't fund. I do like deck builders, and I like the idea of the Alan Quatermain character, but that's one that I have been keeping my eye on. Another one is La Granja, and this is the Deluxe Master Set. Now, when Yato came out from this organization, I think it's Board and Dice, yeah, when they brought out the Yato Deluxe Master Set, I did back it because I didn't have Yato, and I'm considering backing this one, La Granja, also because I don't have the base game, and this comes with all of the different modules and expansions that are new, and from a variety of different game developers, Stefan Feld, Adam Kopinski, Andrei Novak. Yeah, so interesting that they've got solo mode and some new modules by a variety of different board game creators and designers. And so very interested in this one because I've heard a lot about the game. It's kind of a more of a classic type of a game, and getting this deluxified treatment with all the extra modules sounds really good. Now I will say that I backed Yato, and I still haven't actually played it. It is beautiful, but because it's in such a big box, it's a little intimidating, and so I end up just migrating towards games that I either have to play so that I can get reviews out for that I'm responsible for, or I'll play smaller games. And so I really want to play Yato, but it's one of those, the sheer magnitude of it kind of overwhelms me, and I'm wondering if this would be the same here. I also know that I paid more for getting it through Kickstarter, the Yato Deluxe Master Set, than I would have to pay now if I ordered it from like Game Steward or something like that. So there might be a few stretch goals or whatever that I wouldn't get, but so I'm torn on this one. It's one that I definitely would love to have, but I'm a little bit worried of, will it be like Yato and be so overwhelming with such a big box with so much in it that it'll be hard for me to get over that hump? Or also, would it be better for me to just wait until after it's already provided to those that back the Kickstarter and then buy it through another avenue, save a little money perhaps? Hard to say. It is a large investment, $89 for a game. And I would not go for the La Granja. It looks interesting, but it is the large size game. Definitely wouldn't go for that because it's already going to take up enough table space as it is. But $89 for a game is an expensive one. Although I think, the quality of what's coming in this one and the amount of material that comes in this one with all the modules, it's probably worth that price. Just still waffling on this one, but I have some time. As you can see up here at the top, still 9 more days to go, so more than a week to decide. So we'll see how the financiers look in mid-month and make a call on that later. But this one's near the top. This is one that I'm very interested in. All right, Purple Haze is by Phalanx Games, and it's another war type game. So kind of like that Total War Rome game. This is about the Vietnam War and a lot of history here in the game from what I can tell. But again, I'm not sure how much I would enjoy this kind of game, having never played it. It is an immersive story creation game, tactical combat. So looks interesting. Theme is intriguing. Definitely following it. It's not cheap, but it does look interesting. So keeping my eye on this one. Probably it's kind of lower because I don't know if I would even like this kind of game or not. I'd love to try it though. So curious about it, watching it. We'll see what happens by the end of the month. Next up is Ostia, and I've mentioned this a couple times, is looking forward to this in prior months, and now we've got 19 days to go on this one. This one is really interesting. I showed a video last month that showed the movement in this Mancala style of moving the boats around. The art, honestly, the color scheme and art isn't necessarily what draws me in on this one. It's something about it just reminds me of Concordia, but this kind of blues and greens is nice, but not necessarily striking like some. The meeples and tokens look really cool though. But that Mancala, I've always liked 5 tribes and that Mancala sort of style of movement. So that's what really drew me in. And so I'm very interested in this one. Let's see, let's jump back up here to the top again and see. So yeah, they've done quite well. Almost, closing in on 1,000 backers and well beyond their goals financially. So wishing them all the best and definitely considering this one. We can see the pledge levels here again. On the expensive side, it looks more like kind of a smaller game. And so, yeah, the price seems a bit steep when I compare it to something like La Granja. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Looks nice, very intriguing. The Mancala style of motion and gameplay sounds really cool. The videos that I've watched make it sound like a game that I'll enjoy, but not quite sure. With the price point, seems like a little bit maybe too steep for my budget at this point. We'll see. Definitely keep my eye on it. And this is one that I've been hearing more of lately, and it's one that just has started, but it's a shorter one. I think it just started today or yesterday, but it ends before the end of the month, and it's Chang'an. And the art and the style of the iconography here just reminds me so much of Seven Wonders, but it isn't really a Seven Wonders style game. This is by Deer Games. And yeah, it looks really interesting. Engine building game, resource management, which are 2 of the things that I really enjoy. Games like Furnace, where you're building that engine and trying to manage those resources to just crank that engine out. That's always intriguing to me. And the price of this one is, definitely on the more affordable side. I think the tokens and pieces that come with the Kickstarter version sound really cool. They're going to have this Silk Road expansion. And so, yeah, the all-in at 48 euros is definitely a more reasonable price in my opinion. And like I said, the art just reminds me of Seven Wonders. And so it's got that going for it because I like Seven Wonders. And so it just looks familiar. It looks appealing. The gameplay sounds interesting. So definitely looking forward to this one. This one I think just opened either today or yesterday. So I want to watch a few more videos, get a little bit more background on this one. There's a few videos here that I can check out. But definitely considering this one pretty strongly. This one's right up there with La Granja, I think. Those are probably my top 2. This would be kind of the cheaper one, and then La Granja would be the more expensive and kind of a more proven track record with that one. But yeah, both very interesting. Then we've got Jiangnan Life of Gentry. Now this is one that came to Kickstarter a few months ago and also did not fund. This is by Moedes. I'm not sure exactly how you say that, but they have funded now with over 500 backers, but still 23 days to go. So they've got a few stretch goals unlocked. And I've watched a couple videos on this one. The art in this part is interesting to me just because I tend to enjoy the Asian themes. But Rado's review was one that really caught my attention because he said there was just so much innovation, really engaged him, and that made me really curious about it. And when I look at this, the art of these cards and the board and the tokens here, this actually to me looks a little bit more attractive than some of the other images that they've used on this page. So yeah, I think this is one that sounds really interesting. It's not cooperative, but you have to cooperate in a sense, it sounds like from Rado's review. So yeah, definitely keep an eye on this one as well. 65 for the retail version, 89 for the deluxe edition, 139 for the deluxe all in. So again, this is one of those, it's that higher cost level, so it's kind of makes it slide a little bit down the list, but this quote here is kind of what draws me in, though. Combination of bag building, worker placement, and area influence, Jiangnan has a perfect blend of mechanisms that medium to heavyweight gamers like myself will naturally gravitate to. So yeah, sounds very intriguing. Might be a little bit on the steep side financially, so we'll see. But definitely keep an eye on it. Looks beautiful. Next up, we have Seas of Havoc, and I believe this one just started today, 23 days to go. And this is a tactical Navy combat deck building worker placement, so that sort of Dune Imperium, and then Lost Ruins of Arnak with that combination of worker placement and deck building. This one has, though, a tactical measure to it. So that's the thing I'm not exactly sure about. Tactical combat games don't tend to get to the table as much at this household. So that's the one thing holding this one back, because the combination of worker placement and deck building does sound good. And the pirate theme doesn't hurt. It's not necessarily one of my favorites, but it's a nice theme. It's interesting. One that will draw me in, at least get me to look. There have been an awful lot of pirate themed games on the last couple of years, so yeah, we'll see. And this one again is, reasonably priced, but if you're going for the exclusive deluxe edition, again, it's getting up there. It's going to be over $100 once you throw in shipping. So yeah, when it gets to that point, it's really hard for me to pull the trigger on it these days. And so very interesting, one that I'll keep following, maybe a little bit lower. I'd have to say still that Chang'an and get this one refreshed, and La Granja are the two that are leading the way. Now this one is one that is supposed to launch, I believe, tomorrow. Oh no, look, it did, I guess it just refreshed. Maybe it did launch today. It's either today or tomorrow. 26 days to go. And they have blown away their goal here already, which is tremendous. Now we've really enjoyed trekking through the national parks. We've enjoyed trekking the world. Those games are both really interesting. I got to play a very early prototype online on Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, and I enjoyed it, but it was really early, and as I look at this now, it's so interesting because it looks very little like what I played probably 8 months ago or so. It's been a long time, but it does look really pretty, and we've enjoyed the sort of simple gameplay of the other trekking games, and I think this one just sounds really cool with the historical theme. Draws you with gorgeous art, streamlined gameplay. That's kind of what has drawn us into those other games that we enjoy. And I will say that after we played them for a few times and we didn't necessarily get burned out of them, but they have sat on the shelf for a while. Not because we don't want to play them, but just because there's other games that we're choosing ahead of them. So there's that little bit of concern that will it be the same? We'll play it 10 times or so, and then it'll just kind of sit. I don't know. I'm definitely curious about this one because we do enjoy those other games, and hopefully we'll get them back off the shelf again and play again because we have enjoyed them. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see trekking through history. If we look at the pledge levels down here, you can see $50 exclusive, it's $65. It's the game with the Kickstarter exclusives, and then you can also add on these games that we already have those. So yeah, not sure if this is one that I'll pick up here so I can get those exclusives or just wait till it comes to retail. We'll have to wait and see on that. It does look very pretty. I know it's kind of got a proven track record in terms of underdog games in that trekking series, so definitely be keeping my eye on this one, but this one's going to be going on throughout most of the month of February, so I got a little bit more time to think about that one. Next up, Captain's Log, and I think this one just started today as well, so I haven't had much of a chance to look through this, but I did watch, I think it was Dan King video earlier today, and just quickly skimmed through that video to kind of get a look at it. It sounds pretty intriguing. It kind of reminds me of that Seas of Havoc, not because of game style, but theme-wise. We've got different kinds of boards here. The tokens are kind of simple. It'll be interesting to see if they've got a deluxified version. Like I said, this is the first time I've really had a chance to really dig through this since it just started today. Lots of different cards to work in. You got standard mode here. Navigate, explore, interact, fight, upgrade, find a treasure, forge alliances, trade, and duration. Then we've got expert mode. So role play it, board ships, custom maps, board options, upgrade, and then here they've got some stretch goals, hoping to accomplish those. But again, present is future games with this one. It's just starting. And yeah, very curious to see this one as it goes through the next few weeks. Yeah, this is the one Game Boy Geek watched this one earlier today. So I'll definitely have to check out some of these other ones and see what they're saying about the game and follow this one along throughout the next month or so. If we look at the pledge levels here, it is about $85 for one copy of the game, and then $90. Let's see, what's the difference here? One copy of first 48 hours, and then it's going to be 90. So that I don't think I'm going to be willing to commit to this in the first 48 hours. So I'm looking at the $90 range, which, yeah, that's going to push it to the fringe for me for sure. But definitely we'll be keeping my eye on it. It sounds intriguing. I got to learn a little bit more about it before I can make a solid call on it, though. All right, now we're getting to the ones that looking forward to coming up later in the month. And this one is supposed to be starting next week. This Astro Knights is a co-op deck builder that is supposed to be a reimagining or recreation in some sense of Aeon's End, where they're sort of perfecting that sequence or that style of play that they have with Aeon's End, which my wife and I played recently and really enjoyed. And so excited to see more about this one coming soon. Also next week, I think also on the 8th, is Floating Floors by Guff Studios. And this is a kind of a combination dexterity game, tactical game of balance and cunning. I've seen one video about this one and watched a few little clips. So looks interesting as well. Definitely be watching for this one coming out next week. Then we got Rolling Heights. I actually just earlier today watched the Quackalope Board Game Co. combo video where they were talking about Rolling Heights, and it's interesting. Rolling meeples instead of rolling dice has this 3D sort of nature to it. They did say sometimes it's hard to see different parts of the board, but yet the nature of the buildings being like that with that 3D was interesting. And so and I also watched this Terra Dice video not too long ago, a couple days ago, I think. So definitely want to keep my eye on this one. A lot of people that have played it, so they really enjoy it. So definitely want to watch for that one. And I think this one's coming out around, it's either next week on the 8th or the week after on the 15th, I believe. And that was just a prediction. I don't know if that's actually going to come to fruition. This one's scheduled to launch on February 15th, and that's one thing about the dates for all these. What we're seeing more and more is they even pick a date, and then it gets delayed a week, gets delayed 2 weeks, gets delayed a month. So it's hard to know if they'll actually launch on the days, but this one has it posted February 15th. And Kingdom Forlorn, a lot of people have talked about this epic, massive board game from Into the Unknown, offering immersive co-op and solo experiences. So I've heard quite a few people being very excited about this one. Dragons, Devils, and Kings. Definitely want to learn more about this when this one launches in about 2 weeks. Trinity of Reign. This is one that came to Kickstarter before, and then it was canceled, and now it's coming back. And so definitely interested in learning more about this one coming on the 15th, it looks like here, if they are able to stick with that date. The thing that was interesting about this one, not only the area control, resource management, and city building, but these monuments that you put in. Let's see if they've got some pictures. Yeah, so these pieces come in and you're building up these capital cities piece by piece throughout the game. I thought that was a really unique action that you would be taking in the game. And then 3 winning options. You can recruit your army and conquer the land, honor the gods and discover powerful skills, or increase your wealth and build the halls of the ancestors. Fast-pacing game mechanics. So definitely more excited to see this one coming back, and hopefully it'll be successful this time around. Love the art, love the theming. We'll see how that comes around when it launches here in a couple weeks. Next up of anticipated games, this one's coming to GameFound, and this is Tindaya, the Deluxe Edition by Red Mojo Games. So this is a theme-driven adventure game with the soul of a Euro game, they say. And so this is one that is, I think, launching around the 20th, 21st, somewhere. What did it say up here? Yeah, 13 days from now. So it's about that 15th as well. And so, yeah, this one looks interesting, a theme-driven survival game with the soul of a Euro game. 15th century conquistadors have set their sight on a paradisical archipelago, known today as the Canary Islands. So, looks interesting, solo, cooperative, competitive. That's unique to have all those different styles of gameplay. So definitely be watching this one. Shea Parker says, I can't say enough good about it. Not only is it fresh, not only is it the kind of representation we need and the kind of theming that's extremely exciting to see, it also has really good mechanics. So definitely be taking a look at some of these reviews as they come out and learning more about it when this launches in a couple weeks. Another one that I think is supposed to launch around that time, or perhaps, 20 days. So around the 21st or so, Rumors and Legends. And this one I've watched a video on. It looks interesting. It's sort of a deduction game where you're trying to solve a mystery of the disappearance of Professor Daffel. It's got a lot of unique miniatures here, and if I remember right, I think this might be the one that works with an app. I'm not sure about that. We'll have to see when it launches and learn a little bit more about it. But yeah, it sounds really intriguing. Sort of a Clue on steroids kind of an idea here, and definitely with these different legendary figures. We see Bigfoot here. It looks like King Kong. I mean, Loch Ness Monster, aliens. So looks really interesting, and that'll be launching in 20 days. Next up, 51st State Ultimate Edition Portal game. So this one I'm curious about because I haven't played 51st State. I haven't played any of the Empires of the North games, so I don't really know if it's a type of game I'd like. But I know a lot of people really love 51st State. Z Garcia's #1 game of all time, and a lot of people like the Empires of the North that kind of branched out of this game with different theming. This theming actually, and the art of this one actually sounds more intriguing to me than the whole Empires of the North theming and art. And so I'm definitely curious about this one because it would have the original game with all the existing expansions plus some new expansions. And yeah, lots of people have really loved this game throughout the years. And I was watching a video, and the creator, I'm drawing a blank on the name here. Let's see, where is it listed? You guys are all saying it right now as I'm not able to remember it, but Ignacy Trebuchet, yeah. So he was in his video talking about how each of these different expansions changed the game. And that was really interesting to me to hear his perspective on why he created it, how he created it, and what it does to put a twist on the game. So yeah, definitely intrigued for this one. Excited to see when this comes out in a few weeks. And just being able to pick up all of it at once is intriguing. So definitely we'll be checking that out. Launches in 20 days. Next up, Tang Garden Seasons. Now, I have not played Tang Garden, but this launches on Kickstarter February 22nd. I've heard lots of mixed reviews. Some people love it. Some people just really were let down by it. It is, obviously gorgeous. If you look at the 3D nature and the art of this, it is incredibly beautiful. And the seasons, it sounds like with this Kickstarter, you're not only going to be able to get seasons, but the original game and then the other expansions that have been put out before as well. So I'm very curious to see about this. See what is that, Ghost Stories and Golden Age or the other expansions. And I think all of those will be available. So very curious to see what this will look like. I have a feeling it's going to probably price itself out of my ballpark, but it is beautiful. I would really love to play this one before I invest a lot of money into it, just because I've heard so many mixed reviews, but man, you just can't argue that that is an incredibly gorgeous design. So really want to check that one out. Hopefully I'll get a chance to play and then decide when the Kickstarter launches in a few weeks. Next up, Ahau, Rulers of Yucatan, and this is one I've been talking about for a few months, and it's been pushed a few times. It's set now to begin on February 22nd. This is by Ape Iron Games or Aperon Games. I'm not sure how you say it. And to me, just the art of this one looks beautiful. I've talked about it a lot, so I won't say much this time. I've mentioned it, I think, the last 2 months in a row. And so, but yeah, it looks interesting. The art of it is beautiful. Building an empire, movement phase, action phase is sort of the flow of the game. And they've been posting a lot of imagery on Facebook, and just the imagery is what's really drawn me in. As the Kickstarter launches, then I'll be watching videos of hopefully gameplay and getting a little bit more familiar with whether or not the gameplay of this one is something that I would enjoy. But this intriguing puzzle engine building, anytime I see those words in a description, that catches my attention. So very excited to see this one when it launches on the 22nd. And next up, we've got Kingdoms Rise and Fall Dorian. Free-for-all adventure deck building game for 3 to 6. So the 3 to 6 is the one that kind of, I'm not sure if that'll work, but the deck building, and boy, this art to me is just gorgeous. If we take a look here, like I said, that 3-player minimum, not sure, but the art really is attractive to me, and definitely curious to see what this one looks like when it launches. And I think this one's supposed to launch right around that 22nd as well. And now just a few more as we wrap up. Unsettled, I think, is scheduled to launch here. It says February 22nd, and it is going to be the next expansion, I guess, Koguya, the Collector. And so I'm guessing you'll probably be able to order everything prior to that. I don't have anything from Unsettled and haven't played it. I would love to play it to know if this might be one that I want to back, but I'm sure this is going to gather a lot of attention and one that I would definitely be checking out. Next up, we have Tidal Blades Rise of the Unfolders. This is the second game in that series of games. It is not an expansion. It's not connected directly to the previous except for theme and storyline. So this is like the sequel. And I didn't get to play the first one yet, but I have a friend who has it, so I'm hoping that I'll get a chance to play that with him, have him teach me, and then that'll hopefully help me decide if this is a game that I want to back. It is beautiful, and a lot of people really love Tidal Blade, so definitely be checking this out. I think it's supposed to launch near the end of the month in February as well. Now this one's been put off and put off and put off. They've changed the name. It's no longer called Gaijin anymore. It's Tamashi or something like that there. And so not much has changed here on this project page. And so it's a preview, obviously. So I'm curious to see. I have a feeling this might not launch in February. And I've mentioned this one a few times as well over the last couple months, but we'll see. One that I'm still keeping my eye out for. And then last is Earth. This one is scheduled, I think, to launch on the 28th, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know. I can't find anything specific on that. It's just something I remember reading at some point. It's from Inside Up Games, and this is one that 1 to 5 players, action drafting, card drafting, chaining, and game bonuses. Sounds really interesting. The art, if you look at some of these pictures, is really incredible. So definitely wanting to check this one out when it launches towards the end of the month. Really beautiful photos here and terrific looking art for this game. And anything that's biologically connected, ecologically connected with my biology, chemistry, science background always is going to catch my eye. So definitely will be checking this one out. So there you have it, kind of rapid fire because there were so many of them. I didn't want to spend too much time on any one game, but the few games that I backed, well, 2 games that I backed, and then also supporting Dice Tower, several that I followed that just decided not to back, a bunch that I'm following, and again, telling you a little bit about some of those that I'm leaning more towards, and then several that I'm looking forward to. February is a tough month if you're trying to save money with Kickstarters because there are a lot of really intriguing games that are already out there and several more coming in the next few weeks. So hopefully you can hang on tight to your wallets and really be discerning in the ones we all choose to back. I'm sure that most people that are interested in backing Kickstarter games are going to be finding something they love in this month with so many things to choose from. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up down below. And it would be terrific if you'd also subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions about any of these, or if there's another project you want to draw to my attention, leave a comment down below. I enjoy interacting with those that leave those comments. As always, thanks for watching. This is Billy, Indiana, signing off.